We have a winner. Yep. We have a winner. Results are coming in. We fill you in on all the local election results this evening. College of DuPage students share their thoughts on this election season, and joining us in the studio to discuss all of today's election news is Adjunct Professor Bill Enright of the Political Science Department. All that and much more on this edition of Courier TV News. Hi, and thanks for joining us. I'm Nick Petrillo, and welcome back to Courier TV News' election coverage for 2017. Last week, we met with some city council candidates who are vying for a position this election season. CNTV reporter Anna Perchinsky has more on this story.
Both Wheaton and Naperville have city council positions that need to be filled in this election. For the Wheaton City Council, there are 6 people running for 2 seats, 3 in the East District and 3 in the West. Candidate W. Thorson Saline in the East District is looking into lowering speed limits and having stronger enforcement in some residential areas of Wheaton.
Reduce the speed limits to 25 in specific areas, and then to enforce that, and then to have some sort of physical changes to the streets to help reduce speed limits.
Michael Barbier, who is also in the East District, suggests the city needs something dramatic, like creating walking and biking paths that will connect to the Illinois Prairie Path.
More than making it pretty, we can leverage the Prairie Path that runs right through our downtown. Over 200,000 trail users go through Wheaton. Let's bring them into our town.
In the West District, candidates Robert McNeely, Lynn Robbins, and Todd Scalzo are vying for the seat. McNeely has past experience working with the city's Community Relations Commission, while Robbins has showed unbridled passion for getting better lighting near the metro station.
I want to be on the city council because I've been following the issues of the day facing our city. I like to freeze and lower the property tax rates and expand the tax base in a healthy manner.
Despite Robbins and McNeely's enthusiasm, incumbent and local attorney Scalzo seems to be the favorite in the race. Having joined the council during a tough economic period in Wheaton's history, he was able to maintain a AAA bond rating and innovated simpler processes to deliver services.
And people do not want to be told that they have restrictions on their property. As far as preserving buildings, I proposed a theater referendum.
With 8 candidates vying for 4 open seats, the Naperville City Council election is really starting to heat up. Fighting for these positions are Judith Broadhead, Michael Leland Isaac, John Crewman, Kevin Michael Coyne, Julie Berkowitz, Kevin M. Galler, Benny White, and Michael G. Strict. During a forum Wednesday night hosted by the League of Women Voters, the Naperville City Council candidates focused heavily on revitalizing the Ogden Avenue corridor. Each candidate offered a slightly different approach, mainly focusing on bringing in new businesses and making the area safer and more family-friendly.
So some of the biggest opportunities in Naperville really is responsible economic development. I'd like to see some initiatives on Ogden Avenue, South Naperville, 95th and 59.
White, a career military officer, says that he can offer viewpoints and add to the diversity of the council with his background and his experience.
Once I got out there into the military, I really started to find something bigger than myself. I was serving my country, I was serving the men and women under my command, and also from that point on, my values really started to mature.
Strict, a business owner who wants to freeze property tax and offer assistance to small businesses, seems to be the one to beat. He's leading in the latest polls with Isaac, Coyne, and Berkowitz following close behind. While we all eagerly await the results, only time will tell which of these candidates will have their opportunity to serve their communities for a 4-year term.
We want to welcome back Bill Enright, who has been providing us with up-to-date polling results. All right, Bill, let's take a look at some numbers here. First off, we have the Naperville City Council. So let's talk about who's leading in that.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 3 incumbents leading, and then we've got 1 challenger, Benny White, who's coming around too. Benny White's an interesting story, a great story actually. Had been in one of the academies, went through West Point, then eventually went in, of course, served in the military, and now is serving in District 202 as a board member, and now looks like he might be winning a seat in Naperville City Council. The nice thing about him is I think he brings a little bit different perspective than some of the other council members, so I think he'll be a good fit for that.
All right, and there's also sort of like a partisan split to the Naperville City Council as well, right? The 4 incumbents are all, while they're nonpartisan, technically they're all known to be Republicans personally, but the 4 challengers were all kind of a Democrat affiliated, right?
Yeah, those incumbents certainly do focus more on lower taxes and making sure that spending is under control, and I think maybe the new people who were challenging would not be as concerned with that. Not that they wouldn't be concerned, but not as concerned.
And then moving on to the city of Wheaton's council, they're sort of split up into 4 districts of east, west, north, and south, and only east and west are being contested this time, so let's look at east first.
Yeah, I think that with the east, it looks like Barbier is winning over there, and so he's the incumbent. All along, they've been pretty fiscally responsible over in Wheaton, and both him and Scalzo are doing pretty well in this race, but also, again, going back to the fiscal responsibility.
Okay, and then moving back to west, you're saying Scalzo's in the lead.
Scalzo's in the lead, and it was some interesting things coming out of there. For instance, Robbins was interested in bringing more lighting to downtown. She wanted to certainly light up the train station, and so there were some ideas that were coming out of these challengers that I'm sure some of the incumbents will take into consideration.
And that's always good. Just, you know, it isn't necessarily a fight of ideas so much as who can best represent it, and there's no losers in this, we hope. And back to the college, there's 2 College DuPage Board of Trustees positions open, so let's take a look at who the 3 candidates who are vying for that. So right now it looks like there isn't much of a lead in there.
Cycles, but this year's election has been surprisingly uncompetitive. Only 4 candidates are running for the 3 open seats this year, compared to the 12 who ran in 2015. The field was originally larger, but candidates Rafaith Waheed and Husn Nagani were forced to withdraw after flaws were noted in their nominating petitions. 3 of the candidates have formed a slate that intends to follow up on the actions of 2015's clean slate that fired former President Robert Bruder and brought in new President Anne Rondeau.
The 2-year term offers me a unique opportunity to assist the Clean Slate 1.0 board members and not engage in a 6-year commitment.
The one candidate running outside of the slate is Dan Markwell, who is looking to become the first student to serve as a voting member of the board.
I feel that the student trustee position, no offense to any of the student trustees, is a little useless. In my opinion, it was created in order to make the students feel good that they had a voice on the board, but if that voice doesn't get a vote, I don't really see the point in having one, and so I would like to see a student actually have a vote that gets counted on the Board of Trustees.
Some of the issues the new board will face include the budget for the 2018 fiscal year, renewal of staff contracts, and whether or not to build a bridge over Lambert Road to connect the Technical Education Center to the Health and Science Center. Regardless of who wins, it seems the stormy days of the board have passed. Reporting for CNTV, this is Nick Petrillo. All right, Bill, as you know, we had 3 candidates tonight vying for 2 6-year term positions on the College Board of Trustees. So have there been any surprises so far with the results?
Well, these 2 were both endorsed by the Daily Herald, Fenney and Markwell, and so I'm not really surprised that either one of them is leading. As I mentioned in our earlier broadcast, Markwell was interested in building a bridge that went from the East Campus to the West Campus, so we'll see whether or not that comes to fruition.
Okay, so what are some of the other issues they're going to be debating?
Well, they have a lot of things going on as far as the college goes with accreditation, and so they have to try to make sure that the accreditation is back in place. And of course, there's always financial issues with the college, whether or not they're going to increase tuition or cut tuition, where they're going to change administration positions, and so they're going to certainly have to deal with that.
All right, thank you, Bill. Election night's moving fast, so here's what's coming into our studio this evening for the mayor's of Aurora race. You want to talk about that, Bill?
Sure. It's Guzman and Irvin, and it looks like Guzman's in the lead right now. Guzman was the one who I had mentioned earlier was interested in making Aurora first, meaning that he was going to buy or use contractors who are from Aurora first whenever possible with doing city business. And so it looks like they'll be focusing on Aurora with him.
All right, that's good. And what about Villa Park? What's been going on there?
It looked like Bolthius was winning in Villa Park. He's got an interesting plan because what he wants to do is try to consolidate some of the city services. So maybe consolidate the fire department of Villa Park with maybe the fire department of Lombard. And certainly you'd save a lot of money by doing something like that. We're not sure if that's what the community will necessarily go for in the end, or if you'll be able to find another community who wants to combine their services. But it sounds like a big money-saving plan.
Okay. And as for the local elections, Community Unit School District 200's proposition to introduce $132 million of bonds for Glen Ellen School District. Tell us about some of those referendums.
Yeah, $132 million. They want to replace one school. They want to do a lot of upgrades to other schools. And so it was certainly a contentious election. If you drove down the street, you saw a lot of no's and certainly a lot of yeses too. But it's certainly going to be a contentious election. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the schools if the referendum doesn't pass and they don't get that bond money. But at this point, it looks like they're not winning. It looks like the no's are winning.
Well, that's too bad for them, but this election isn't the only local election this year. The student body at the College of DuPage has recently voted for their own student leadership council members, and CNTV reporter Brichelle Martinez introduces us to these newly elected members.
In March, a record number of students turned out to the polls to elect the new members of the Student Leadership Council. The president, vice president, and student trustee positions were up for grabs.
I want to make sure that students understand that the SLC is open to them, that they can be heard.
Listen to student perspectives and opinions and hear them out and be able to effectively represent the student voice.
The team of Sophia Khan and George Beck captured the most votes, winning president and vice president respectively.
Without the students, the college is nothing.
I am very excited. I am determined and motivated to, instill plans that have been previously brought up by SLC and hopefully to integrate their ideas into mine.
I'm looking forward to learning from the current SLC and really feeling a very large pair of shoes because the current SLC has done a wonderful job. So
Anthony Walker won the student trustee position and will replace Luciela Escamilla on the board of trustees.
So I want them to come to me if there's what's going on with this, or just to be able to give them information that they may not have, that they may need.
Walker implemented his concerns to make sure that all students at the College of DuPage are comfortable with voicing their opinions and concerns so that he can address them efficiently.
So I'm just here to support them in any way possible. Anything outside of the Board of Trustees, like if it involves in getting more students to join SLC, starting projects, I'm all for it.
Walker was inducted into office on March 27th, and Conan Beck will take office at the beginning of the fall 2017 semester. All three are very excited and honored to be elected on the board and look forward to making a difference.
Get students aware of what SLC is all about, because ultimately we're here to represent students on campus.
My doors are open to any concern and idea.
Try to get more students involved. I feel like that's our main goal, to try to make students feel more welcome.
All right, we're back, and we have some breaking news on Glen Ellen's school bond referendum. Bill?
Well, it just goes to show you that every vote counts. The unofficial tally right now is that it passed by 11 votes, 11 yes votes to pass it out of about 5,000 votes. So just goes to show you, get out there to vote if it really means something to you.
Yep. And before I let you go, Bill, is there any just last observations?
Well, I also saw that Hinsdale had a bond issue in, and they were trying to basically replace or upgrade their pools over in Hinsdale, and it looked like it was losing pretty badly. I know that these pools seem to have trouble. Glen Ellen had trouble with one a couple of years ago. Oak Park had a real big one a couple of years ago, and that lost. And so the pool referendums don't seem to do as well as some of the other ones do.
Yeah, well, it's harder to say you have a desperate need for a pool rather than schools that aren't being infested by, you were talking about Glen Ellen. They had issues with, what was it, like ticks?
Yeah, and one of the portables, prior to them being replaced at some of the elementary schools, they had animals that were living underneath the portables. The animals had fleas, and then the fleas got in the classroom. So you can imagine why it'd be important to replace some of those.
All right, well, I'm glad that the flea referendum passed by 11 votes. All right, so will this election affect any changes at the state level compared to just local, you think?
I don't think it's going to really have an impact at the state level right now, other than we still do have a crisis in our state budget, and we do still have a crisis as far as not getting anything done with pensions. And so that's going to certainly still come around to haunt us. And for sure, it's going to be something that we have to be concerned with in the future.
And, speaking of that future, already next March, we have the governor's race to worry about with the primaries.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. I already saw that we've got a Kennedy running for it. John F. Kennedy's nephew is running for governor as a Democrat, so we're going to have that to look forward to in the March primaries.
And do you think any other candidates, like the Republicans, Bruce Rauner would likely still be running again?
Well, Bruce Rauner had said that he was only going to run for one term. I'm taking him at that word that he's only going to run for one term. And so right now I haven't heard of any other Republicans that are planning on running for governor.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bill, for joining us and sharing all your knowledge and expertise. And I'll be glad to see you back here in 2018.
Thank you, Nick.
And this has been your election update. Thank you for choosing Courier TV News for your election coverage this evening. And we leave you now with a segment we call Chap Chat. We asked COD students if they voted today or not, and why.
Did you vote today, Andrew?
No.
Why did you not vote?
I didn't know that there was one.
Okay. Did you vote today,
I did not.
Why did you not vote?
I didn't know there was an election.
Damn, nailed it. Great response.
I did not vote today, no.
Why did you not vote today?
To be honest, for me, it was kind of a time thing. I guess I should have had my priorities better sorted out for today.
Yes, and the reason behind that is because basically with property taxes going up with the referendum, it's like an average of like $200 a year. And if you take that, if you improve the schools, you're going to make more money if you're going to sell your house anyways. So basically, if you have kids in school, you should have voted yes. If you're not planning on selling your house in the next, year or two, then, you should have voted yes. There's really no reason to vote no as far as I'm concerned.